This guy was as cold and calculated as they come. Maybe we weren't going to get it solved.
It was like the epitome of innocence that had been preyed upon.
This is a case that has no evidence. We didn't have DNA. We didn't have fingerprints.
Step inside the court of law with the new true crime podcast, American Justice.
We realized we have 4 men who answered the same ad for a job on a farm.
My brother Ralph went to interview and he was never seen again.
A podcast that explores impactful crimes and reveals how our justice system works.
You have to consider that there are more possibilities than one.
And sometimes how it doesn't.
We have to find whoever this monster is.
Go in depth into chilling cases and their conclusions in this new true crime series.
You just have a pit in your stomach thinking, how many people are we going to find?
New episodes of American Justice are available every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 371 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. I had another birthday.
Yeah, congratulations.
Appreciate that. They seem to come quicker and quicker every year.
Yeah, and you keep looking older and older.
And you would know because you're, 10, 12 years ahead of me. Yours have to be coming really quickly.
Ouch.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Rags.
Hey, Rags cleaning it up.
Michelle Chappell.
What's going on, Chappell?
Robin jumped out at our highest level.
Thanks, Robin. Say hello to Bot Man for me.
Did you say Bot Man? Megan and Teddy.
What's going on, Megan and Teddy?
Susan Thompson.
Hey, Susan.
LaDasha Scott.
Well, thank you, LaDasha.
Beth Horn.
Oh, hey, Horn.
Jimmy Nix.
What's going on, Jimmy?
Carrie Kearns.
Hey, thanks, Carrie.
Lori Carlson jumped out at our highest level.
Way to go, Carlson.
Lisa Boyk.
Hey, Lisa.
And last but not least, Lane Marie.
Thank you so much, Marie.
And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Celine.
Celine is out there doing good.
Yep. And we also had a couple of great PayPal donations from Kelly Gilstrap and KCJ Innovations.
Thanks, Gilstrap and KCJ.
Gibbs, right now we have a new episode out on True Crime All the Time where we're going back to the 1800s. And, during that period of time, grave robbing was a pretty big deal. But we're talking about these two guys, William Burke and William Hare, who kind of went beyond the grave robbing aspect, and they just started killing people.
Yeah, they did.
To sell their bodies to doctors, to be used as cadavers.
Today, they'd be known as Billy Burke and Billy Hare. Because back then, it was all about formal names.
Okay.
So today, it'd be, hey, Billy Burke and Billy Hare.
Okay. So that's your observation.
Small observation.
Based on their names. All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I'm ready.
We're talking about the disappearance of Colt Haynes and Molly Miller. On January 7, 2013, Colt Haynes and Molly Miller went missing after they were involved in a high-speed police chase in Love County, Oklahoma. Colt and Molly were passengers. The driver was a mutual friend with a criminal record and family ties to local law enforcement. In the hours after the car chase, Colt and Molly made phone calls to friends asking for help because they were lost in the woods. Eventually, their phones died, and they've not been heard or seen from since.
Hey, have you ever been in a high-speed police chase that you're allowed to talk about?
Not only have I not ever been in a high-speed car chase, I've never even gotten a ticket in my entire life.
Now you're just bragging.
I am bragging because, again, just had another birthday. It's 51 of them, still no tickets.
And in the last year and a half, I've gotten 3.
They're about ready to suspend your license.
Getting close.
Molly Miller was born on April 30th, 1996. She lived with her mother in Wilson, Oklahoma, a small rural town. Molly lived on and off with her grandparents. She had a hard time adjusting. After her grandmother passed away, she remained close with her grandfather, but went back to her mother's house when she was angry with him.
I think that happens with a lot of kids.
Yeah, it happens in different situations, especially when, let's say, mom and dad divorce. Okay, you choose to live with one, you get angry at that person, you try to go live with the other. We've seen that in cases before. Molly was only 17 years old at the time she disappeared. As a teen, she started using drugs and spending time with people who could be considered bad influences. According to Molly's cousin, Paula Fielder, Molly attended a family gathering during Memorial Day weekend, 2013. She spoke to Paula's son, and during their conversation, she admitted she was hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Some of us have been there before. I know I used to hang out with the wrong crowd, or maybe they thought they were hanging out with the wrong crowd, something like that.
Yes. I mean, I still do one night a week hang out with somebody who I would consider a bad influence.
Yeah, well,
I'm not going to name any name.
Well, I think you're talking about Morph, and I understand that.
But what I do think is interesting about this, Gibbs, is that she would actually say or admit that she knows she was hanging out with the wrong crowd. I think that's something that a lot of parents recognize, but maybe not kids. They don't think they're hanging out with the wrong crowd.
And sometimes I think, is there like a attraction to that? You know, the being part of a group that's bad?
Well, yeah, if you're trying to be rebellious a little bit, or there is sometimes an attraction to the wrong, the bad.
Yeah. I mean, you were known as a bad boy in school.
Absolutely.
Kinda
Like George Costanza.
Yes, you had that jacket.
I did.
Yep.
On July 7th, 2013, Molly told her mother she was going to the lake, but this wasn't true. She was hanging out with her friends, Colt Haynes and James Con Nip. Colt Haynes was born on April 28th, 1992. He was just 21 years old at the time of his disappearance. Colt had a criminal record. In 2011, he was charged with endeavoring to manufacture meth and admitted to using meth and marijuana. He was allowed into a deferred sentencing program, but his probation officer asked that he return to court because he made no progress in the program and continued to associate with known criminals. A bench warrant was issued for his arrest on July 18th, but by that time, he had already gone missing.
Endeavoring. Interesting word.
It almost, to me, makes it sound like he was attempting or trying to manufacture meth, but maybe was not successful. So I'm not sure that he was Breaking Bad, but he was trying to figure it out, maybe. Molly had only known Colt for about a week. Her cousin Paula said that Molly had a crush on Colt, but she didn't think it was anything too serious. Both Molly and Colt had known Con Nip for a long time. Colt had a son with Con's ex-girlfriend. Marion Joe Russell, the sheriff of Love County, Oklahoma at the time, is Con Nip's cousin. And everyone in the area knew that Joe Russell could always get Con out of trouble. He liked to drive recklessly to entice the police into chasing him and would then get his cousin to help him out. Con did have a prior criminal record for marijuana possession.
Something about a good old police chase, like my buddies, the Dukes.
Bo and Luke?
Yeah.
Well, it's a little easier to get into a police chase if you know you have the sheriff as a cousin who can help smooth everything out for you.
Absolutely.
It's unclear exactly why Molly and Colt were in the car with Con Nip on July 7, 2013. The police believe Molly and Colt were passengers in the vehicle driven by Con based on cell phone data that showed all three were traveling in the same place at the same time. Relatives and investigators have speculated that it was drug related. And I could see where that speculation would come in. And we're talking about individuals here who either have records based on drug use or the manufacture of drugs, or were known to have been using drugs at the time. Around 10:30 p.m., Con tried to instigate a police chase on Main Street in Wilson, Oklahoma, by driving past two parked patrol cars at 80 miles per hour. But the officers didn't pursue him. So he turned around and did a donut in the parking lot where the police cars were, which sprayed gravel onto the police vehicles.
Well, that might just piss them off.
Well, I was thinking, at a certain point, if you're a police officer and you recognize who this person is, are you going to give chase knowing that's exactly what he wants, and also knowing that nothing's ever going to stick anyway? So
why waste your time?
Yeah. At a certain point, it doesn't make sense. But you're going to mess up my police vehicle. Now we've got an issue.
Exactly.
And I was actually watching a YouTube video the other day of like fails, or, I like those kind of videos where people do dumb things. And this person was doing a donut in a gravel parking lot. And these two guys were filming it from their car. And when he spun around, the gravel came through their window and it looked like bullets were flying.
Yeah.
I mean, it completely punched holes through these windows.
Sure damaged the outside of the car too.
Oh, it was very dangerous.
Kind of got more than they bargained for.
Yeah, they thought they were filming something cool, and it turned out not quite so cool. So the officers attempted to pull Con over, but he didn't follow directions. The two deputies followed him through town. He turned onto State Highway 76 and turned off his headlights. I mean, this is dangerous stuff. I mean, number one, any car chase is dangerous. You never know what's going to happen. And driving at a high rate of speed at night with your headlights off seems very dangerous.
Extremely.
It was said that the chase reached speeds of 120 miles per hour. Con entered a road in Love County, which is out of Wilson's jurisdiction. Once they were in Love County, the sheriff told his deputies to end the pursuit, and they obeyed the direct order. The chase ended near Oswald and Long Hollow Road, which is a dead end in a heavily wooded area. It was said that the vehicle was totaled. Because of Con's reckless driving, the three occupants abandoned the vehicle, and Con allegedly left Molly and Colt in the woods. So it seems to me, Gibbs, that this guy did this quite a bit. He had a history of it.
Habitual?
He was a habitual adrenaline junkie / high-speed chase instigator. I'm trying to imagine what these two others in the car were thinking if they had never been in this situation with him before.
I was trying to think of that movie with the one guy from the car movies with
Owen Wilson?
No, the one from the franchise car movies. There's like 10 of them out there now.
You're talking about the animated car?
No, I'm talking about where they steal the cars. The Rock's in them lately.
Are you talking about the Fast and the Furious?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the animated Cars movies.
No.
Because that's what it's actually called. You said the cars movies.
Yeah. So you know the guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies that involve cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know the guy that was always been in the car movies.
Vin Diesel?
Yeah, Vin Diesel. He was in a movie where he played XXX or something.
Yes. I've seen it.
And that's what this reminds me of.
Okay. So we just did like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to get to that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Riveting. I know.
It's a good podcast. I'll tell you that.
It is. Yeah.
So these two, Molly and Colt, are kind of abandoned in the woods. They both made calls to their friends trying to get someone to come pick them up and bring them water. They said they were lost near Oswald Road. Molly said she had been involved in a police chase with Con Nip. Colt told friends that his ankle was broken and he was lying in a creek bed, according to his sister, Monique Stewart. So, I mean, this must have been one hell of a high-speed chase. The car is messed up. Colt's got a broken ankle. They must have been flying all over, pinballing in this car.
Yeah. It's like driving with you.
At 12:57 a.m., Molly's phone called 911. The dispatcher heard buttons being pushed, but no one spoke. And the call only lasted 5 seconds. The dispatcher tried to call Molly back, but received no response. By morning, 4 of Colt and Molly's friends were out searching for them on four-wheelers. They searched for about 4 hours before they decided to go to Con Nip's house to ask him questions. Con denied being with Colt and Molly the day before. What he didn't know was that one of Colt's friends had him on the phone and he was listening to this conversation. The friend handed the phone to Nip. According to Molly's cousin, Paula Fielder, who spoke to KXII, Colt said to Con, "Tell them where we're at so we can get out of here." Paula elaborated further on the conversation in her interview for the show Never Seen Again. According to Paula, Con said to Colt's friend, "You know where we left the Mustang?" Colt's friend said yes. Con then said, "They're near there." So this is pretty strange. I mean, this guy's denying that he was even with them. He's then kind of caught in the lie.
Right.
I mean, Colt is on the phone.
I mean, you're saying they're near the Mustang. Yeah, but you said earlier you didn't see him that day.
So obviously that was a lie. He was caught in it. Colt's friends asked Con if they could walk across his family property, a wooded area of about 1,000 acres in Love County, because it was faster than driving on main roads. But Con wouldn't allow them to do it. Molly's phone died at 9:39 a.m. Colt's phone died soon after at 9:57 a.m. Molly's last known location was on Pike Road in Love County.
Look, why wouldn't you allow them to drive across your property unless you have something to hide?
Well, and to me, where we're at in the story, it does seem as though he has something to hide. If you don't have anything to hide, why would you lie about being with Colt and Molly the day before? Why would you abandon them in the woods in the first place?
And if they're supposed to be your friends or acquaintances,
easy for you to say,
why wouldn't you want to help try to find them?
He doesn't seem to care a whole lot, at the very least. Yeah. But the other thing I want to talk about, Gibbs, is this 1,000-acre property. That is a big spread.
That's a nice piece of property.
Molly's mother attempted to report her missing in Love County on July 8th. According to the Daily Beast, a Love County dispatcher told her to file her report with the Wilson Police in Carter County because it was not the Love County Sheriff's problem.
Wow. It's not our problem.
That's a strange way to put it if that was the exact wording. I could see somebody saying, well, this is not our jurisdiction or something like that. But saying it's not our problem, that's pretty rough. On July 10th, 2013, Molly's cousin, Misty Miller, received a call from Molly's uncle, Michael. He said he heard that Molly was tied up to a tree at the end of Long Hollow Road and sexually assaulted by several individuals at one time. She was allegedly drugged and a shock collar was put on her.
All disturbing?
Very disturbing. Now, I don't know where he got this information, but he drove down to Oswald Long Hollow Road area looking for her, but the road was blocked off by the police. They told him the sheriff was already down there checking it out and everything was fine.
I feel like it'd be more like a Mystic River scene.
Where you'd have to be holding this person back.
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple of questions here. First, where did Michael get this information? And then, second, why were the police there? Did they receive the same information? And I think this is going to come up later, right? Why were they there? Was there something really there? Did they cover it up? These are all questions, I'm sure, that are going to arise. According to KXII reporter Caroline Cluse-Fletcher, most people initially believed Molly and Colt ran off to Texas together. This is what the sheriff told people. And Con Nip also told people they went to Wichita Falls, Texas. But this became less believable as the days passed because neither one of them answered calls or messages, and there was no activity on their social media.
Which would seem strange for kids these ages.
Well, they were adults, right? If they wanted to run off and be together, that is something they could have done.
And they're at that age where they're going to probably use their phones a lot.
Well, and you also have to take a look at, what is Con Nip telling people? And how good is his word at this point in time? 2 weeks after Colt and Molly disappeared, the vehicle involved in the chase, a 2012 Honda Accord, owned by Con Nip's girlfriend, was found in a field close to where the police chase ended. The car had about $18,000 worth of damage. It had been driven through ditches and barbed wire fences. So this guy not only went on a high-speed chase, he did it in his girlfriend's car and pretty much totaled it. I'm starting to think this was an individual with some serious issues.
All I know is if you brought your wife's car back in this condition, we would be recording this at another location.
At a hotel?
Yes.
Because I would be kicked out of the house. Some wondered if Colt and Molly could have died from exposure. They were in a wooded area in the middle of summer, possibly without food or water, and Colt told his friends he was injured. Now, I do believe that we are talking about a pretty rural area here. Around the time the car was found, Molly's cousin Paula Fielder contacted Texas EquiSearch, a nonprofit that helps search for missing people for assistance. Teams searched miles of land, but didn't find Molly or Colt. Founder Tim Miller believes that although it is a rural area, Molly likely would have been able to get to a road to flag someone down for help, so the possibility that they died of exposure is unlikely. And I kind of thought that as well.
Same here.
I mean, you know, when you think about you can go, 2 or 3 days without water, you know, even if he's injured and unable to walk, she would be able to get somewhere within that time frame and then get help to then go back and you know, help him. Paula Fielder went to Con Nip's home on September 1st, 2013 to ask him questions. According to an article from Oprah Daily, she asked Con if Molly and Colt were okay. When he left them in the woods, he responded, "I don't know what you're talking about. I never was with Molly and Colt. I didn't leave them in the woods." Paula told him that she knew Molly was dead. In an interview with the Daily Beast, Paula said that Con teared up and said, "I don't want to go to jail." His family then ushered him away.
So it makes you wonder what happened. Did she get injured during the joyride and then made that call and then ended up passing away and he did something and then he had to cover it up with Colt?
Well, Paula believes Con Nip knows what happened to Molly and Colt, and I don't know how she couldn't. If what she is saying is true, and if, you know, Con kept flip-flopping back and forth, he was with them. No, he wasn't with them. Well, that's very suspicious. This occurred during Labor Day weekend 2013. In September 2013, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol launched an investigation to determine who was driving the vehicle when it crashed. The OHP learned that Nip's girlfriend's car was parked at an associate's home around 9 p.m. Before the chase started, the associate told the cops he saw Colt Haynes in the front passenger seat and Molly Miller in the back seat, and they left with Nip. In January 2014, authorities issued arrest warrants against Con Nip and his girlfriend, 32-year-old Sabrina Graham, in connection to the July 2013 car chase. On January 6, Sabrina Graham appeared in court alone. She was charged with making a false insurance claim and filing a false police report. She was accused of lying to the police when she claimed her 2012 Honda Accord was stolen. She allowed Con to drive her car, which was found in Love County near his residence. So it doesn't sound like she was involved in this, you know, high-speed chase. It sounds to me like she found out that Con totaled her car and she was trying to figure out a way to get paid for it.
Yeah, capitalize from it.
And what she did was illegal. On January 7th, Con's family called the Love County Sheriff's Office and asked Sheriff Joe Russell to pick Con up so he could turn himself in. Sheriff Russell met him at his grandfather's house and he was taken into custody. Con told the sheriff he had no idea where Colt and Molly were. Sabrina later pleaded guilty and received a 3-year deferred sentence.
Slap on the hand.
Yeah, it's a slap, but what she did wasn't, anything violent. She did something she wasn't supposed to. In March 2014, Con Nip's uncle, Colby Barrick, made an accidental 911 call to the Love County Sheriff's Department. It's difficult to understand exactly what was said because of the quality of the recording, but it sounded like he was describing what happened to Colt and Molly. According to Oxygen, he said, you're fucking mad. You're fucking tired. Fucking Moxie Lake. A buck knife. Molly Miller. They shot him in the mouth. Right there, I can put my finger all the way through it. Again, that's the part you can understand. You kind of have to put some of it together. But what you can hear doesn't sound good. A buck knife. They shot him in the mouth. I can put my finger all the way through it.
Scary.
Him sounds like it could refer to Colt Haynes. A buck knife, Molly Miller, could mean that she was killed somehow with a knife, stabbed or, slashed or something. The operator heard what sounded like water splashing and 2 gunshots before the call disconnected. The operator called Sheriff Joe Russell and told him she heard someone talking about Molly and Colt. And I mean the girl that was killed and dope and stuff like that. They didn't know they were on 911. And it comes from a pond just north of Long Hollow Road on Oswald. The phone pinged near Moxley Lake, which is just north of Long Hollow Road, which is interesting because he says Moxley Lake on the call.
That's true.
The 911 dispatcher sent out an officer to the location, and Sheriff Russell also came to the scene. The 3 people on the property were felons in possession of firearms. They were ticketed for trespassing, but not arrested for possession of firearms. They claimed they were just fishing. Now, Gibbs, I do a lot of fishing. I do not normally take a bunch of guns with me. It's not something that's needed to catch fish.
Yeah, I can't imagine why you would need that.
We don't even know if they had poles with them. We just know that they had guns. Maybe they were trying to shoot the fish.
Well, some people just don't know how to fish with a pole, like you.
On July 8th, 2014, James Con Nip pleaded guilty in Love County to assault with a dangerous weapon, felony eluding a police officer, and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle in connection to a car chase from January 2014. During the January chase, an Oklahoma State trooper wrecked along a dirt road near his home. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison plus 10 years of probation. So this is another car chase.
Well, that's good. He should do time.
Yeah, it sounded like this guy had a very serious problem with high-speed car chases.
And in this case, someone got injured.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like his cousin wasn't able to get him out of this one. Con was charged with endangering others while eluding a police officer in Carter County in connection to the July 2013 car chase, but was not charged in connection to the disappearances of Colt Haynes and Molly Miller. On July 9, 2014, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation announced it was taking the lead on the case and called it a possible double homicide. DA Craig Ladd had requested that the OSBI conduct a full investigation into the disappearances. And my assumption here is that it was going to take the OSBI to come in because, this guy had family connections in law enforcement. They had gotten him out of trouble before. It almost had to be another agency.
Yeah. Somebody needed to step up.
Yeah. Hours after Con's guilty plea, U.S. Marshals were seen blocking the road near his family's property. Back in June 2014, law enforcement collected evidence in the area of Love County where Con's family lives. Oklahoma Highway Patrol Captain Ronnie Hampton said stolen cars were recovered and there were reports of people being threatened by armed individuals as they traveled down the road near the family property.
Well, maybe this is why he didn't want people to go across that 1,000 acres.
That could be a good reason. There could have been some shady stuff going on. Also in June, a private investigator told the local outlet News 9 that a witness came forward to report they were given a 9mm semi-automatic pistol and a machete by a family member of Con Nip. Both items appeared to have dried blood on them, according to the witness.
Pretty intriguing.
It is. My question is, if someone comes to you and says, here, I'd like to give you a 9mm and a machete, and you look at them and they appear to have blood on them, why in the world would you take them? A few months later, Philip Klein from Klein Investigations, the firm hired by the family, told News 9 that Con Nip's mother was in possession of a weapon given to her by Con 2 days after Molly and Colt disappeared. She stored it at her house. The PIs identified other persons of interest, and they believe they are connected to the disappearance of an oil field worker, Brandon Nichols, who disappeared in April 2014. So there is a lot going on here.
There really is.
And that's outside of Colt and Molly being missing, what happened to them. You really have, this Con situation and his family. Guns, machetes, stolen vehicles, maybe drugs, other types of illicit activity.
Law enforcement connections.
Yeah, there is just so much going on. On August 6, 2014, Con pleaded guilty in Carter County to eluding the police. In the July 2013 chase, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison plus 10 years probation to run concurrently with his sentence in Love County. So that does seem like a lot, right? 10 years in prison, 10 years probation.
It does.
But he already had that. And it's going to run concurrently. So really, it's not anything extra.
It's like 2 for the price of 1.
Pretty much.
It's like a BOGO.
Did you say a Bobo?
BOGO?
Oh, BOGO. I think you said Bobo.
No, Bobo is something different.
Yeah.
You don't want a Bobo.
No, you don't want a Bobo. The following month, the senior investigator in the case released a statement identifying Sabrina Fincher, Con Nip's girlfriend and the owner of the car involved in the July 2013 chase, as a person of interest. Con had already been named as a person of interest. Investigators also asked for help in connection with a 9mm that was reportedly collected as evidence in Con's investigation. Investigators wanted to know if anyone saw Con Nip or Colby Barrett, Con's uncle, with the gun. Sheriff Joe Russell denied allegations that he knew of a machete and a pistol that were potential evidence, but did nothing about it. Russell told the station KXII, every time I try to do something on the investigation, I was accused of trying to cover something up. So I just took myself out of action. If I get a tip of any kind, I call OSBI. And that's probably what that guy should have done.
Absolutely.
Now, is that exactly what he did? I don't know. But you could see how people would be questioning of his actions every time something happens. All right, you've covered for this kid before. Are you doing it again now when the stakes are even higher?
And maybe that was just something he was used to doing, right? Covering for the kid, covering for other family members, if they had some type of stolen car ring going on.
That he was maybe potentially benefiting from.
Sure.
Yeah, we don't know. Molly's cousin, Paula Fielder, confronted the sheriff at a store in May 2016, questioning him about his claim that he forwarded tips to the OSBI. According to the Daily Beast, Paula told the sheriff, "You know full well Molly and Colt did not leave Long Hollow Road alive. You need to stop protecting your family because we've had enough." The sheriff then allegedly said, "Y'all can say all you want. The FBI has been investigating me and they ain't going to find nothing."
They ain't going to find nothing.
Y'all. In July 2016, a grand jury filed charges to remove Sheriff Joe Russell from office. He was arrested on July 19th and charged with 2 counts of corruption in office, 2 counts of habitual or willful neglect of duty, and willful maladministration.
Ooh, maladministration. That's not a good one.
Oh, you don't hear that very often.
You do not. Clearly, he was not a great guy.
And a pretty bad sheriff. He allowed his son, George Willie Russell, to sell meth in their shared home and use his father's police vehicle to transport drugs.
Hey, that's a good way to make sure you don't get caught. Hey, Dad, can I take your police vehicle? I got to take some of this meth over there, and I just don't want them pulling me over.
He was also accused of allowing a fugitive to stay in his home and sell meth with his son.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, you could tell just by the things that were kind of leading up to this that the sheriff was not a great guy, but this kind of cements it. The willful maladministration charge related to a car chase involving Con Nip. Russell allegedly allowed Con to meet unsupervised with family in a deputy's office where evidence was stored.
This has just got scandal written all over it.
Well, it's got this vibe of small town sheriff kind of runs everything. This is kind of like a movie plot.
Yeah, it actually sounds like a made-for-TV movie.
Right. It's like something in the original Roadhouse. The sheriff is in cahoots with the local drug kingpin.
Yeah, in the car shop. Chop.
Did you just say car shop, chop shop?
Easy for you to say.
Exactly. Willie Russell was arrested in May 2015 after he sold 2.8 grams of crystal meth to a confidential informant at a corner store. It took some time to arrange the deal because Willie insisted on staying in Love County where his dad could protect him. So it sounds to me like they had to work hard to get him to this store that was in another county where he could be arrested, where his dad could not protect him.
His dad was pissed that night. Dang it, son, I told you.
Don't sell meth outside the county.
That's right.
Willie pleaded guilty to meth distribution in federal court on December 7, 2015. According to an affidavit, the sheriff willfully maintained a dwelling where drugs are kept, and from March to May 2015, harbored a fugitive named Sarah Bamberg, who was dating his son. She was wanted in both Carter County and Love County.
Well, that's just criminal.
Willie Russell allegedly told her that she would not be arrested as long as she was dating him.
You stay with me, babe, and you don't need to worry about anything. My daddy would take care of you.
Sarah later told authorities that Willie Russell kept meth for sale at the sheriff's house, and they spoke to the sheriff while high. The sheriff gave his son the keys to his patrol truck, which was then used to transport meth. The affidavit stated that Willie Russell was a known meth dealer. Since 2011, drug users have gone to the sheriff's house and used meth while the sheriff was home.
Just trying to figure out how that works. You imagine being the first time going there, like your friends are like, hey, we're going to go do some meth. We're going to go over to Willie's. Well, isn't Willie's dad a sheriff? Yeah, we're going over there.
He don't care.
We're going to sit there and do meth in front of the sheriff? Oh, yeah.
You know, this war on drugs is pretty tough, right? Meth is such a blight. But you know what makes the war on drugs tougher? Is when the local sheriff is in cahoots with the drug dealers and manufacturers.
So, sometimes in these small towns, the locals vote for who their sheriff will be. And if for whatever reason, if the family or the sheriff, or if the individual wanted to be a sheriff to have some control, they could kind of make that happen.
Yeah, but I also think that, he might have been way more involved than just looking the other way. I think he was gaining some major benefit, whether that be a ton of money or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I always wanted to run for sheriff.
What's that guy that carried the big stick?
Big stick guy.
You know who I'm talking about, though,
start
right?
with a B. What was his name? Because The Rock played him in the remake.
Right. Walking Tall is the name of the
Brubaker?
Maybe.
I think it's Brubaker.
It's based on a true story, though.
It is.
And I have a feeling that if you were sheriff, that would be you.
Well, I got a big stick.
Just walking around, carrying a big stick, threatening people, keeping the peace.
It's every day.
Sheriff Russell allegedly sent Sarah Bamberg and his son to different locations to pick up meth for distribution and bring it back to their home, according to an informant. And I think that just kind of goes back to my theory that this guy was a lot more involved than just kind of providing protection or looking the other way. I think he was kind of right smack in the middle of directing traffic.
Yeah, I think he was profiting for sure.
In April 2015, Bamberg left Russell for another man. She was arrested by Sheriff Russell days later, and Russell presented charges to the DA against this man for harboring a fugitive. I mean, the cojones on this guy.
Yeah.
Why would you even do that knowing that she knows everything about you? Or are you just so vindictive that this woman leaves your son and right away you arrest her? And not only that, you arrest the guy that she's with now for harboring a fugitive when you've been harboring her forever.
But he's going to say, I told you not to leave. No one leaves my son.
But how does he not know that she's going to say what she knows? It's going to come back.
Well, he probably feels confident that he can
get his way out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2015, investigation revealed some information about the disappearances of Colt Haynes and Molly Miller. According to the show Never Seen Again, a witness testified before a grand jury looking into corruption and drug charges against Russell that they were told that Molly was taken to a property on Long Hollow Road. According to the witness, Con Nip told her he was one of the people present. The witness testified they had a huge party with the dope they had there and had ran trains on Molly.
Okay, that's sick.
It is very sick and nasty. The witness was asked to clarify what this meant and said, where several guys sleep with her in a row. The witness said that Con told them this, referring to Con Nip. According to the Daily Beast, in November 2015, an FBI agent testified that Sarah's new roommate was arrested after he questioned the sheriff. The roommate said, why is it okay for her to live at your house with Willie and get high and have warrants and not be arrested? But then when she comes here, everyone is after her and she gets arrested. I think it's a very valid question.
I agree.
The FBI agent also testified that Willie coerced Sarah into having sex with him by reminding her, you've got warrants, and as long as you're here dating me, you are not going to get arrested.
It's kind of like a form of kidnapping.
It really is, in a way. I mean, you're saying, if you leave me, you know who my dad is, and you know what he can do.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, as long as you're here, you have to have sex with me.
Yeah. House rules.
The agent testified that the sheriff arrested women who were drunk or high and partying on the Red River. He took them to his home and made them dance. According to the agent, either Willie would strip them, sometimes Joe would, and these were apparently the kind of girls that once they realized that they weren't going to go to jail, that they were just at another party, they would then go ahead and partake of the meth that Willie would offer them and stay and party. And I think you and I have talked about this. You know, the power that a sheriff or a police / law enforcement officer wields is something to be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
I think when you look at this situation, rural town, sheriff, that power becomes even more magnified.
Oh, yeah.
To a very large degree. But look at how this guy is taking advantage of this power. I can arrest you. I won't if you come home and strip for me and my son.
Yeah. And he can do that because there was really no oversight.
And no repercussions, right? He's running the whole place. Who's going to do anything to him?
Right. Who's going to come after him? Nobody.
At one point, the agent was asked about missing persons cases in Love County. He testified that Colt Haynes and Molly Miller were involved with drugs before they disappeared. The agent answered yes when asked if they were involved with people associated with Joe Russell. The prosecutor asked about the real fear of confidential informants or people with information disappearing. The CI who got Willie Russell arrested was worried because Willie and his father's associates tried to lure her into Love County. And I would say the fear was real because knowing everything we know about Joe Russell, his son, you would have to ask the question, were there any links that they would not be willing to go to? to either ensure, this good thing they had, and I'm using that in quotations, was not messed up, or to get back at somebody who had wronged them.
They would use their power any way that would benefit them.
Joe Russell was suspended without pay in August 2016 and resigned in October of that year. On March 6, 2017, former Sheriff Joe Russell pleaded no contest to willful admission to perform an official duty. He was sentenced to unsupervised probation for a year in order to pay $277 in court costs and $30 to the state victims compensation fund.
Boy, that all seems pretty assaulting, pretty insulting.
$300 essentially, and 1 year of unsupervised probation. Yeah. Now, he's not the sheriff anymore, and I'm sure that was a big blow to him, but penalty-wise, legal penalty-wise, that's pretty light.
It's extremely light.
If Russell abided by the conditions of his parole, he wouldn't even have a criminal conviction on his record. Con Nip only served 4 years in prison and was released in 2018. On July 11, 2018, Con's uncle, Colby Ray Barrick, was sentenced to 46 months in prison and 3 years supervised release for being a felon in possession of a firearm. While in custody, he allegedly told law enforcement that Colt and Molly's bodies were in Moxley Pond, close to the crash site. In 2020, Oxygen reported that this pond had never been searched. But the new sheriff of Love County told the family he planned to search the water. Molly's family had her declared legally dead in January 2021. In April of that year, Paula Fielder told KXII that an informant came to her with information about Molly's death. She took this information to the FBI and convinced the witness to come forward as well. Fielder said that based on what she's been told, someone witnessed what happened to Molly and Colt.
So things will heat up a little bit then.
And my thought, Gibbs, is that there is definitely someone who witnessed what happened to Molly and Colt, or at the very least knows exactly what happened.
And maybe they just needed to wait for the big sheriff switch over where they felt comfortable coming forward.
That something could actually happen. Maybe there would be no repercussions. Yeah. I mean, go back to this person testifying that, there were a bunch of men out there sexually abusing Molly. If that's true, then obviously there are a bunch of people probably that know what happened.
Sure.
The FBI opened up an investigation into Molly's death in May 2021. Molly is a member of the Chickasaw Nation, which is why the FBI got involved. In November 2021, a judge denied a PI's request for a search warrant to excavate an area in Love County, believed to be connected to the disappearance. Love County Sheriff Marty Grisham issued a statement. We are aware of the circulating rumors in reference to the Molly Miller Colt Haynes disappearance. As mentioned numerous times over the years, we have never given up hope of finding Molly Miller and Colt Haynes. While the case was forwarded to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation some years back, a couple of current deputies that work for the new administration here at Love County have taken another look at the case and have drawn some of their own opinions and conclusions. Obviously, none of these opinions or conclusions have been substantiated, as we have not been able to locate either Molly Miller or Colt Haynes. We do our best to look into every lead and tip that we receive, and in doing so, deputies believed a search warrant was necessary for a piece of property in Love County in the hopes of excavating years of built-up dirt and debris in a creek bed. If the theory of the deputies is correct, this excavation and search warrant are necessary. However, when the search warrant was applied for through the district court, it was denied, citing that the case is still considered a missing persons case, and there is no evidence to show that a crime has been committed. With not being able to prove that a crime was committed, a search warrant could not be issued. We understand the public opinion of the case, the former administration, and the overall publicity that this case has brought. At this point, we are re-examining our options moving forward and still plan to follow up on any credible lead or tip that the public can provide.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty clear, right? There are new theories, and those theories involve one or more of Colt and or Molly possibly being in this creek bed. But to figure that out, they're going to have to do some excavation. But the judge denied the search warrant because at this point, it's not considered a homicide case. It's still a missing persons case.
And did it get to the search warrant being filed because the homeowner would not allow them to come on and look? The landowner? I'm guessing that they said, you can't come on this property.
That could be. That could be. I don't know if somebody owns the land or I don't know.
But if you didn't have anything to do with the missing or the murder of, why wouldn't you just allow the police to come on and look? To say you can't come on here and search means, to me, I feel like that's because you know there's something that you don't want them to find.
If that's what happened. We don't know that's what happened.
Well, that's true.
DA Craig Ladd told KXII, in this case, the criminal investigation never developed to the point where it was time for me to make a decision about whether or not there was sufficient evidence. Even the investigators said we can't get reliable information in regard to exactly what happened and who is responsible for it. Obviously, the name Con Nip came up because he was the last person seen alive with him, and I didn't have sufficient evidence to prosecute him for the high-speed chase, and I prosecuted him to the fullest extent of the law. Con did not respond to KXII's interview request, but attorney Gary Henry did. Henry helped Con get an interview with investigators in hopes of clearing him as a suspect. Henry told the outlet, "We know Con got home and Colt and Molly were still alive because there were 3 witnesses that showed up at the house where Con was living that were out looking for Colt, and they were on the phone, and they've given full statements." He also said that the evidence points to a different suspect, adding, "He has been interviewed, and I will say he has made some tacit admissions, in and of themselves not enough to do anything with other than point further in the direction of where the investigation needs to go." Law enforcement sources confirmed to KXII that this suspect is a person of interest, but KXII did not name them because they were not charged. And this is a pretty interesting scenario when you think about it, because, during this whole thing, this Con Nip guy, obviously he's got something going on.
Sure.
He's got a problem with high-speed chases. He was with Molly and Colt that night. Allegedly, he just left them out there in the woods. It kind of makes you believe that he had to have something to do with what happened to them. But then you hear that there's another person of interest who's made some type of admissions, but not to the point where this person could be arrested. Well, what does that mean? What have they admitted to? And I think most people listening, in their mind, were forming the impression that it was some type of Con Nip / Joe Russell connection that was at the heart of this case. And maybe it was, but I think this new person of interest, muddies the waters a bit. Now, maybe this person has a connection to them.
Yeah.
And it's just more people involved than, what is known about. On March 24th of this year, Colt's sister Monique Stewart issued a statement on behalf of the family, which was published on the Missing Colt Haynes Facebook page. In her statement, she said that their family believes Colt Nip is innocent and accused Colt's brother Jesse Haynes of killing him. She wrote that Jesse threatened to kill Colt over a woman. The full statement is publicly available to read on Facebook. Jesse Haynes has never been charged in connection to the disappearances. None of the sources used for this episode listed him as a suspect or person of interest in the case.
That's interesting, though.
It is. I mean, we don't know the name of the person of interest who's made the admissions. Could it be this guy? Possibly. We don't know because they've never really used his name. Molly's family has also created a Facebook page called Operation Find Molly Miller. You can view the page for case updates, Colt and Molly's families are still searching for answers about what happened to them over a decade ago. If you have information about the disappearances of Colt Haynes and Molly Miller, you can contact the OSBI at 405-848-6724. You can also contact the Bureau of Indian Affairs at 918-781-4600. So Gibbs, as we wrap up this case, like we said early on, there's a lot going on here. There was a lot to unpack, a lot to unravel. There's no doubt that there are some individuals involved in this case, either directly or on the periphery, that have a criminal record or not good people.
Shady.
They've been charged. They've been convicted of things. Now, did they have something to do with the disappearance of Colt and Molly? That has yet to be determined.
Sure.
I keep going back to the fact that, it's thought that Con was the last person to see them. He kind of abandoned them in this field. And it seems, based on some people's statements, that he's lied about it multiple times and he's flip-flopped, right? He wasn't with them that night. He was with them that night. He dropped them off. They were fine. And then you have this phone call that was witnessed by other people. So if he wasn't with them, why is Colt calling him and saying, hey, man, why did you leave us?
Yeah.
It kind of blows that statement out of the water, right?
Makes it feel like he knows something.
Yes, but also the mere fact that he left them doesn't mean that he had something to do with the disappearance. Doesn't make him look great.
No.
Now, he could have had somebody else go back out there and do something to them.
Could have.
We just don't know.
We don't. That's the mystery.
This Moxley Lake to me is interesting. There was talk about searching it, but then I didn't see anything else about it.
That site they wanted to search, but the judge wouldn't allow it.
Yes. My thought is, if Colt and Molly were killed, which is kind of hard to believe they're alive, right? After all this time. But if they were killed, they had to be put somewhere.
Absolutely.
To hide their bodies, because I do think it was known where their last locations were. Those locations would have been searched. They weren't found. I mean, they even had Texas EquiSearch.
Yeah.
If they can't find you, you're not out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're the best.
So they're either on the creek bed or they could be in this lake, but you can't come on the property where the creek is. And for whatever reason, we don't know what happened at the lake. Yeah,
we don't know if it's been searched and there was just nothing found, because couldn't find really much reporting about it. It's just a really intriguing case all the way around. I do think it's one that will be solved, though.
I think so, too.
Because I think eventually both of those places will be searched. I do believe that the remains of Colt and Molly will be found one day. Now, conclusively proving what happened to them and who did it, that might be an even tougher, taller order.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. I do think there'll be a resolution, though. I have a feeling about this one.
Yeah, and we'll see if that one person that called that said buck knife,
Moxley Lake,
bullet hole.
Yeah, because I believe if their remains are found, obviously if there's a bullet hole, they should probably be able to tell that from the remains. But that's it for our episode on the disappearance of Colt Haynes and Molly Miller. We got a voicemail, Gibbs. You want to check that out?
Let's hear it.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Mike in Fort F. South Jersey. I'm calling to say thanks a lot for all the great episodes. Really enjoy them. I'm not really a true crime fan, but I got into listening to you guys by hearing my wife listen, so I'm really a fan of you guys. Really entertaining and a lot of information. I sent you a rather lengthy email asking you to comment on what I consider to be the biggest true crime story of the last century, which is drug prohibition, but I forgot to mention some cases that are related to it that I'd like to see you do, and then comment on some of the things that I put in that email. One of them would be the murder of Shelley Hillard, who was an informant who was dismembered and by a drug dealer for turning him in. And the other was Rachel Hoffman, again, an informant who was killed by the drug dealer for turning him in. So I appreciate if you would cover some of these cases, and in that comment on what you found about some of the links that I sent you. Appreciate it. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks for the voicemail. I'll definitely go back and look for that email. I know I have it. We do get a lot of emails, Gibbs.
We do.
They're hard to wade through.
You just have to look for the one from South Jersey.
Will it have an accent in the email? Is that what you're trying to
I'm
tell?
an email from Jersey, South Jersey.
Is it going to have an attitude?
It's going to be, open me up. What I got to say? Come on.
Oh, all right. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
This summer, it's time to get your giggle on. Pluto TV's Summer of Cinema is going to make you LOL with hundreds of free movies all summer long. Get a good chuckle or a deep belly laugh streaming Good Burger, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, and Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. From old school to Think Like a Man, this summer you can chortle, howl, or snort your way through your favorite comedies for free. Download the Pluto TV app now. It's every couch potato stream. Summer of Cinema on Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.